السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. مرحبا بكم في قناة إيمان ارتيزان. كنتمنى تكونوا في أحسن حال. اليوم في هذا الفيديو بنشارك معكم بعض اللقطات من واحد المؤتمر حطت ليه وومن كونفرنس واللي كان في ولاية فيرجينيا. المحور تاعو كان على المرأة، وصورت لكم بعض اللقطات وبعض المواضيع اللي تناقشت في المؤتمر. ما قدرتش نشاركها معكم كلها في هذا الفيديو، اقتصرت على موضوعين فقط واللي هما حاولت انني نقص بزاف اللقطات منهم. المواضيع تاع هذا الفيديو غادي تكون حول التربية الجنسية للبنات، وحول كذلك مشكلة الختان الفتيات للفتيات، أسبابها، أنواعها والنتائج السلبية تاعها، وكذلك توعية للحد من هذا المشكل. وفي هاد اللحظات فين كنصور لكم دابا، فين كنعلق لكم دابا وكنهضر دابا، كنت كنصور الخارج تاع المؤتمر، حيث كان بازار شارك فيه مجموعة من النساء اللي عندهم مشروع صغير مهم. من بعد هاد اللقطات غدا نخليكم مع المؤتمر والمواضيع تاع المؤتمر. المهم الا كنتو باقيين ما شاركتوش في القناه تاعي، شاركوا فيها عبر الضغط على زر سبسكرايب او ابوني او اشتراك اسفل هذا الفيديو، او ممكن لكم تشاركوا عبر الضغط على الدائره تاع الصوره ديالي في اخر هذا الفيديو. وما تنساوش تخليوا لي لايك وتخليوا لي تعليق للتشجيع.
It's amazing. I think we're going to have a lot of inspiring talks today. We're going to have people that inspire us of all ages, of all backgrounds, and hopefully the one thing that they share in common is that they can relate to you, and that you can feel like your stories are represented in them, and hopefully they will be able to lift you up when you feel. So I'm going to just go over the house rules really quick, inshallah, and I'll also introduce our raffle sponsor, because that's really exciting, and we're all going to be entered into this raffle if we go out there into the bazaar. You can learn more about it. So first, you're going to hear opinions that you don't agree with up here. You're going to hear things that maybe are uncomfortable or controversial, or things that make you think a little bit and shy away from something. I want you to kind of like lean into that feeling and just respect each other and respect this space as a safe space. And hopefully, inshallah, we can have a dialogue that is informed and respectful and civil.
For your destiny. And so in this moment, what we're seeking to do is to establish a strong and firm and progressive identity, by which we are taking the ideals and the principles that we live upon and that we're spreading them to every aspect of our lives. But it's also an opportunity for us to bear witness, right? That when we have women who are up here talking about the work that they've done and how they have accomplished it, we're able to celebrate their triumph over challenge, and we're able to bear witness to the fact, because this is what we do as Muslims, right? We say, ashhadu, I bear witness. So what am I bearing witness to? I'm bearing witness to the greatness of Allah, and I'm bearing witness to the greatness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed upon Muslim women and what He has allowed them to do, and not what we talk about. Because every woman who gets up here today is not somebody who's talking about this great work. These are women who are actively involved in this great work. Right?
I was looking out at you all, the most beautiful women, just so diverse. And one of the things that brought me back here wasn't to talk about the things that I usually do. I am a nurse practitioner. I teach students about sex, and sexuality and sexual behavior. But I really came here the very first time by invitation to talk about sex, which is what everyone thought I was going to be talking about today. And we will when we get to the question and answer. But what I do want to say is that women, although we are often dismissed as sexual, sensual beings, we are. I am the auntie that everyone comes to when they have a question about things that we're not going to talk about right now. What I will say in the appropriate way is that it's very important for you to know your body. That means that in your own privacy, you take off your clothes and you look at yourself. And you will be amazed at what you see. At first, there may be some who go, I don't have some of this, or I wish I had more of that, or I have way too much of something else. You want to be able to say, well, this is what was normal, and now something has changed. But if you've never seen yourself, if you have no sense of what things happen to your body, you can't explain to me what I'm going to be trying to make a diagnosis about. That's what becomes really critical, and being comfortable with it, recognizing yourself. I'm always involved in family spacing. I don't like the way the word family planning sounds. Perhaps there are those of you out there who planned. I did not plan. I have 5 sons. They appeared. There was no plan, and I didn't know how to tell my husband, nor did I know how to tell my mom. But one of the things that became very important was to understand that we have a body that was designed specifically for pleasure, and reproduction. In that order, by the way, because there can be no reproduction if there's no pleasure, because that's violent in and of itself. So we're pleasure and then reproduction. You need to understand the importance of spacing children. So that's why I don't talk about family planning, I talk about family spacing. In the Quran, it talks about how important it is for the 2 years to breastfeed your child. Great for the children, we're not talking about them right now, because they will just hang on forever. The important part is really to understand that that is a natural way to space your children. Isn't it amazing? 2.5 years spacing. What is important about that time frame is that it gives your body the absolute capacity to rejuvenate itself. That's important because when you think about it, you brought a whole nother human being into the world with a very narrow tongue. You carried for a very long time. You gained a good amount of weight that only came off a little. And so you have to give your body an opportunity to refresh. So if you just go, and then everybody looks at you and go, oh, how old are you? Go, oh, I'm 20. You look like my mother. You know what I mean? It's because you didn't refresh. You must give yourself a chance to recuperate. The other thing that I'm also supposed to talk about is things around sexuality, but it's really important again to understand the progression of life. When you start off as beautiful young ladies and learning about cycles and how it works and ovulation and all of those things, you need to understand that because that helps you understand hormones and hormonal imbalance. Hormones are what makes you become beautiful and long hair and breasts and curves in places where everybody wants to have them. And so, you need to understand that. And then as you get older and more mature, the changes that happen to your body. When you get older, that's me. When you get older, you still remain a sensuous, sensual person. Now, there may be some that go, I am too old for that kind of thinking. I am not familiar with a woman yet where that is true. There may be silence not to talk about it because we are not supposed to think in that way, but we do. One of the things that I say to my students, and I teach at Drexel University, and they all think it's hysterical, is I am not my hijab. It's a scarf. Underneath it is an exotic thinking, fully figured woman who has tremendous desires, not just for the intimacy of my partner, but also that I am conscious of all that goes on around me. Mothers, we have an internal device that everyone knows that we have. You know what it is? Some kind of magic thing. It's intuition. You know where to find things that no one else can locate because they can ask you, did you see my whatever it was? And you can go, Well, yes, she left it on the entryway table. The day before yesterday at 3 o'clock. It is because we are naturally aware of our environment. And again, that's really important because when you start to look at what is happening to us and our changes, that's something that we must rely on. We must be aware of who we are and how we operate and be able to transmit that. We really are energetic portions of this planet. If it wasn't for us, by the way, nobody would be here. So I will let you ask me all the questions that you want. I'm very excited to be here, and yes, Auntie will be at a table over here. You can come and ask me all kinds of other questions.
Ways that these are not conversations that we have. This is like, are we even allowed to say that, like, to each other even, right? If you said it out loud, so I want to first, before I get into too many questions, I want to ask you this. You said something very important, and earlier on you said that when there is no pleasure, yet there's reproduction, that this is violence. Please explain.
I say that because in actuality, when you look at the various hadith, and I am not a scholar, so I'm not even going to pretend to recite anything in that regard. But one of the things that when I talk about premarital education, for example, the things that bring pleasure are those things like being fed by hand by your spouse prior to engagement. It's in the book. It's written. It's a hadith that talks about that. The setting that should occur, because the idea is that I wish to be seduced as I am able to seduce. That is a giving and a taking and an understanding of companionship. It says what the intent of the relationship is supposed to be. Anything other than that is assault. And assault is violence, and that's not pleasure. And reproduction that may occur from that is simply an act of biology. And so again, understanding fully who we are as women and recognizing the importance of that, and also communicating to our sons. And as I told you, I have many sons by many mothers that I talk to about this very thing. If you want to create a loving environment, then that exchange must be loving and caring. And as I say, it's violence otherwise, and that's battery, and that's not acceptable.
We allow them to participate in sports and activities that have a risk of breaking their hymen. And do we talk about this with our daughters? And if we do, are we condoning and encouraging sexual behavior? She gonna shout up here, y'all.
Okay, so biologically speaking, the hymen is the thinnest membrane, but it's a thin. You can actually cough really hard and cause it damage. It means nothing. And I know we have long historical and cultural affectations about the hymen. Please, let it go. Just let it go. There is nothing that should restrict us from being able to do whatever kinds of exercises, including jumping jacks and squat thrusts and all. It's not going to change anything. I have heard people try to have their hymens reconstructed just in case when they were on the bicycle and they got bumped and it wasn't there. Who looked? That's what I remember. In all seriousness, there really is no reason for us to be so deeply attached to it. It is just a thin membrane. It is actually left over from structural development of the vagina. That's it.
Thank you.
Nothing else. It's leftovers. So please do not put a great deal of value on it. For our girls, it is much more important for them to understand the changes that are occurring in other parts of their bodies that we don't talk about. Breast development and what that means. The softening of the symphysis pubis, the rounding of the body, those things that make one attractive. When I have someone young come to me and not understand cycles and how it works and how to calculate them and don't have any real sense of that, cannot tell you what is normal about their own bodies, I'm much more concerned that we as women exchange those information in honesty with each other. One of the things that I found that really is sort of distressing is the idea that when we get beyond puberty, we become something else, and so we don't talk about our own sexual feelings to our children. So they don't know. Young girls do not know, like, mom didn't have you by having you pop out of a can. And so our children don't know that there's a romantic side. They don't know that we like romantic movies. They don't know that husbands don't know. Send flowers. Send flowers. Just one, not a dozen, just one with a small note that says something like, you should be really tired because you've been running through my mind.
I can't.
Because we want to be reminded that we are attractive. We're attractive. And were you thinking about it? I bet it wasn't in my hijab. I hope that you have any more serious questions.
Not yet. We will in the end, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on today. We will discuss an important topic that we all care about, and it's also a very sensitive topic. We go into the definition of etymology, causes, complication, and prevention. So what is really female genital mutilation? Based on the WHO, it's called comprehensive procedure, which all involves the partial, total removal of external female genitalia and other injury of the female genital organs for non-medical reason. Let me repeat that word, non-medical reason. So etymology we talk about in more than based on WHO, which is 200 million girls and women all today have undergone for that FGM. The countries with practice and concentrated. And 3 million girls undergo that every year. Majority girls got between the 15 years and having documented in 30 countries. Just imagine how many girls go through that and how 3 million girls go through that. You see those countries and the place, see the age, and one of us can see that. Some of them it goes from that. Majority of them are below 15 years old. And that is the time when all those young girls remembers and have a lot of impact psychologically, medically. I have been in a lot of that country, which is probably a lot of them did not talk about it. I've been in Asia, Africa, and a lot in the Middle East. And I encountered a lot of girls who talk about it, all those stories, and all of what they remember. And the majority of that area is just concentrated at the girls who, especially when the civil wars and all that happens, a lot of girls who was in the village, which did not get even anesthesia to be done. I couldn't put, I apologize, I couldn't put a lot of pictures here because I couldn't take it myself. So percentage of the girls who go, the women aged 15 and 40 years who have been undergone, that is the area. Those is the areas which is, and believe it or not, in South America also, there's some countries who also really do those circumcisions. Those countries, when we say that, why these things has happened? Why, what is going on? Why we cannot go on progress? For that last 30 years we were talking about it. Why we're not progressing? Why we just still we're talking about this, even though 30 years that we figure out there's something wrong here. It's a culture. And culture is very strong, extremely strong. And that is just as culture knows. Some cultures, based on WHO, there is a lot of, when I talk about it, it's just more about, we think about, okay, the religions. It's all intermingled. If you look at the cultures, see that circle, see what is that, what it goes on, the culture, attitude, art, language, custom. It's a part of the procedure, behavior, faith, everything intermingles. Religious leaders have a different practice. Some believe it is wrong. Some believe it that it should be eliminated. Some believe it like, I don't know. I'm not here to judge any religious belief, but it's here that we all have a mission to stop this. Procedures, if I go through it, there was a lot of pictures around and everyone can Google it and look around it. Today everything's out figures. But I couldn't put all those pictures as I mentioned earlier. So it goes to 4 types. Often refers to osteotorectomy, which is the partial or total removal of clitoris, the area with erectile tissues, which is a very sensitive female part. So the procedures that we have, the third one, which refers to fibulations, vaginal opening through the creations. We have type 4, which include the total hormone versus the female and non-medical procedures. I could talk long, but I don't have that time. So we'll tell. Let's go to the complications. We have 2-sided complication. Immediate complication can include, which is immediate, severe pain, excessive bleeding, genital tissue swelling, fever, infections, which is the majority of time is done in the area which is no sanitations, no vaccinations for those young girls. And then they can go urinary problems, wound healing. I have seen all those things through my practice. And the long term will be urinary problem, menstrual, because if you go back to the 4th and the 3rd ones, is the whole area is closed. So to pass, to urinate or to have your menstrual period is very difficult. It stays there, and even though you can have the cramps and you can have the dysmenorrhea, something we call, which is a painful period, but it can increase with that. So prevention, we have that 2008. We want you all of you to look for that. We have a lot of responses for it. We have in December 2000, General Assembly applied resolution of elimination female. In 2016, we have a collaboration with UNICEF with the guidelines. I will some highlight that, which we can look for it. This is just if we click it, that it can take us to all the resolutions 2016 United. So we have what our goals: strengthen the health sector response, build the evidence about the cost of response and practice, and increase the advocacy. We don't have a lot of the research for that part, and we would like to have a lot of advocate people who can help and stop that. Thanks so much. A lot of going on about that area, but I think it's more about the other complication I talk about it than the compare the long term, the short terms for that. And it depends what stage of circumcision really it can affect that.
That would make sense. Depending on what stage of the circumcision, of course, would affect her desire. That not every procedure is the same. So not every procedure is the same. The next thing I want to, you mentioned a lot of health implications. For example, I just want to take this opportunity to say, for example, that one of the maqasid of Sharia, one of the objectives and the aims of Islam is the preservation of life. So in those categories, you mentioned the part of the reason that this has become such a heavy and important topic to address is because there have been girls who have suffered in terms of loss of life, or like you said, problems, urinary problems and menstruation problems. Dr. Rashida, or even Dr. Safia, how do we begin to care for that?
The issues that we can talk about it, all the complication I talk about it, really, the only way those things can be stopped actually is just when we have more advocate, more education to mothers and the new generation to know that this, as I started from the name, is non-medical. It's just non-medical. It doesn't really help. It harms more than any social and psychological, but we think that this is the norm everyone has to follow. It harms. And we need to just go and say, you know what, I am not going to do what was done before. There's a lot of ritual, and I respect everyone's culture, but there is some cultures, and I think anything harming us should stop.
One of the things that I would say, because I do have to provide care when women have healed, and one of the challenges, one is body image. And so one of the things that I would like to see happen as part of an educational process is that we move from discussing it with clients as mutilation, because it continues to body shame and victimize the individuals who have had this experience, so that when they come for GYN care, for example, they never describe it, you discover it. And that is because they are so ashamed, because they've been told they've been mutilated. And because of that, they have this fear about how they're going to describe themselves. So yes, part of what I would like to advocate for is a better way to explain the significance of what happened. Yes, it is traumatic, it is non-medical, it is unnecessary. But if it has been done, you do not want to spend your life from 3 or 5 or 15 thinking of yourself as damaged. And for me, when young women come and this has been their experience, or they come and they're going to have their babies and we have to open those areas up again in order to have a safe delivery, and they feel they must have it sewn back because this has been the way of their tribes or their communities, it is critical to be respectful of their own perceptions. We must advocate that it not be done, but we also don't want to be part of the continued victimization of those women who've experienced it.
Thank you. You say something so key, and I want to ask you this, Dr. Sophia. You mentioned that also in your statistics. There is this myth that it happens only amongst Muslims and only amongst Africans. Is that the case?
It's not the case. It's as I mentioned it happens in South America. I mean, it happens like a lot of, I'm not here to talk, what is the Muslim or that. There's a lot, the majority of the country who do the circumcision down on Muslim. I mean, Eritrea, Ethiopia, I'm respectful for that, and Somalia, all those countries, even though Somalia is the most Muslim, but the majority of those countries, they're telling you this is the culture, it's a norm, it's a residual, that they do with that. It's not, we cannot say that is the only country. It's the only one of that we need to stop.
The hymen, that they're doing labiaplasty, that they're doing, let's say, genital alteration. Yeah. Isn't that true that that's happening here in America?
They do. The thing is that if I do the stage 4, stage 3 procedure for the female, there's a lot of scarring. And to deliver the baby, you need a lot of expansion for the normal health body on this tissue to expand so the child can bath through the birth canal. But if you have those extensive scarring, it will be very difficult to deliver those ladies normally. So the majority of that, it happens and they end up doing cesarean section. And that is the part of it that we need to educate our health department, health doctors and health professionals and midwives. And it's a lot of changes now. A lot of people do understand that this is knowledge. This is something that the media get a little bit, even though we go to the extreme sides of, attachment of, those people do that things do. But it's the issue that you have to look at individual level and then deal it through that.
Okay, so we're gonna quickly do a raffle because that's one of our sponsors, Relevant Power Events. So we're going to allow Dr. Minowa now to pick a name, and then we will move on to our break, and then we can talk about how to make up for some lost time for questions. Yeah, sure. You can call the number. All right, here we go. She just picked the number. Okay, look at your raffles. 5, 4, 2, 6, 8, 4. Oh, she won. All right, come on down here. Okay, we're doing 4. 5, 4, 542-708. 542-708 is not in the room. Okay, you got it? Oh, really? This corner of the room is very, very lucky. I don't know what you want, man, but it's probably going to be girly. No, we got something to make you happy. I don't know what it is. All right. 542-727. 542. Oh, she's a very quiet hand in the back. Look at that. Thank you very much. 542-687. That's a lot of sevens. 542-687. Finally, thank you. Okay. Yes, please support the businesses that are outside. Go Empower Events is trying to promote and support women-owned businesses and nonprofit organizations serving our community. We're going to break right now, you guys. We have to start again at 3:15. I know that is very fast. There's going to be a hard start at 3:20, but please try to be back in this room at 3:15. Go pray, go take a little break, and we'll be back. And hold on to your raffle tickets because there's going to be another raffle.